the map, especially starting out on the attack. I think Bleed are going to have to be careful, I think, in the early game, because FaZe do play the cautious game. They do spend a lot of time journeying in the early game, figuring out what they want to do before they step foot in the building. And the one player that could make that early entry play is Cyber, and that's what FaZe was alluding to early on in his analyst segment.
That's right. Well, FaZe Clan getting into the map bans now on their 17th international event, gunning for their 12th main stage appearance. For Bleed, they've never been to an international event before, and they've never played on the main stage, with the exception of a couple of players. And get this, Mandy, Reaps, playing for Direwolves back a year ago at the Jönköping Major, managed to beat FaZe Clan and was the MVP of that game. While Bleed and FaZe have never met in the server, Reaps has played against these FaZe players, and he knows how to beat them.
That was a very different time, though. Direwolves, a very different roster to the current iteration of Bleed, and on a very different map as well. We're going to head over to Bank instead of what I believe was the Skyscraper that we saw them last play against each other. Ban FaZe has flown by us just a little bit. Ying, I think Ying being taken out pretty early on does make sense to me. I think especially in this series where you don't really want to be playing against that like disruptive playstyle and have to deal with that. That true as well. It does mean that you're leaving in like stuff like your Maverick, your Hibana, all the hard breach is able to be unlocked now for FaZe starting out on the attacker. Hang on, look at that. All 10 players in the server, just saying, or running the FaZe banner. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, Bleed trying to get in their heads a little bit.
I love that. Well, it might not have any in-game skins, but they will... I don't know, is that getting in their heads, or is that a little bit of respect on FaZe?
Yeah, maybe it's respect, or maybe it's like they're trying to make their own drip out of FaZe, you know? Because it's like Bleed is red as well, red and like
true.
spooky and...
Well, I did notice that in the pre-game lobby, all of the Bleed players were talking. We know they're very lippy guys, right?
Yeah, right.
They were in the chat saying things like, oh, I'm so scared, you know, we're gonna get beaten, you guys are so good. Don't, you know, go easy on us. And I noticed Turster the other day, he tweeted something along the lines of, we're going up against FaZe, these guys are very, very good, they'll definitely destroy us and we'll go home. I don't know if it's a counter jinx or what.
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't read into it too hard. I think the Bleed guys are being a bit silly with it. But anyway, we're going to go down to the basement as the first defense for Bleed. It does look like they are leaning into doing a little bit of a light roam in the ground floor, so not extending their way through all 3 floors of the map. What that does mean is that Cyber on the sledge can get in the top floor nice and easy and start to make the vertical game work to then go and flush out the players in the ground floor.
And Souls is the first one with the drone inside to spot Asfi. Asfi is not running a Nitro cell. Instead, he's got these impact grenades. I'm not sure if that's to make rotations in the late round, but I would have thought that C4s would have been very effective at taking down a lot of these players moving in from the top floor, especially Cyber, as you mentioned before, who I believe is looking to move in. Here we go, from the top of main stairs.
Turd on the other side to meet him just at the bottom of main stairs. In fact, the hatch going down into the bomb site hasn't actually been opened yet by the defense. Is probably why Asfi has decided to bring along the impact grenades instead of the C4 to make sure they have a method of escape. And like you've just pointed out, make spontaneous rotation holes. One made inside of Tells does mean that he can extend his reach over into lobby, but Handy will clean him up.
There is a trade, however. Reaps has taken down the Hibana. I wonder if there's a chance here that Bleed could try and use their 3 remaining reinforcers to get some of these hatches that they previously hadn't gotten, now that that primary hard breach has been taken down.
Vidiking, though, with 2 of the secondary hard breach charges in hand, will start to make work through this mid-round to be able to place them down, but Turd actually is still here on the ground floor. I don't know if FaZe know about this. I can only imagine there must be some kind of flank drone over in the lobby side. They have made their entry work down the main stairs with Handy, unfortunately, being traded out. They actually do know, I think, good diligence there from FaZe to put a drone there and make sure that they can keep him at bay.
So that drone was indeed in lobby, but it's hard to tell, Mandy. Do you think they actually are aware of that position?
I think they know. I think they definitely know, right? They know that Reaps has fallen back. You can see that with, you know, the behavior at the moment in the mid-round. They're playing pretty freely over inside of the, you know, top square, open area type thing. But as they make their way down into server, someone will have to keep an eye on the flank that's going on. That's got to be Handy, who's a dead man.
FaZe have been perfect at clearing out a lot of this utility on the site as well. All of the bulletproof cameras, all of the Vulcan canisters, it's all gone down. But Turd, he has been left to his own devices, and it seems like Vidiking, in fact, was not aware. And now FaZe will have to watch their flank.
Oh, really? I thought they absolutely knew, but here goes KDS. He's going, okay, I need to ignore Turd on the top floor, and we need to have a think about the bomb site, but there goes Reaps, take down Souls.
Oh, and it's all falling apart for FaZe. Cyber, he might be a great entry player, but he only finds his first kill right at the very end of the round. Far too little, far too late. Bleed are fired up after a dominant opening round.
One round, relax, you know, but I think I overestimated FaZe's intel game there through the mid round. I really thought that they actually knew that Turd was still inside lobby, especially after getting the trade onto Handy. I thought for sure they would still know that he was inside of Tellers or something like that, but Vidiking unfortunately falling to him did really close up their options in the execute phase. You remember Vidiking was the Capital, so a lot of those fire bolts, smoke bolts, all the things that could have aided them come the execute was taken away.
Reaps is so intense.
They kind of all are, though, you know?
It's true. The thing is, Reaps is the one player on this team that I would say he doesn't really engage in like the smack talk in the server. Like all these other guys, they're very kind of extroverted. They love that attention, got that Alamau energy. But Reaps is just like the silent killer. He sits there hunched over his PC with his wrist doing all of his mouse movement because he's got such a high DPI. If you look at his mouse setup with his mouse pad off the side of the table, it's creepy. It's terrifying.
It's creepy.
It is. He is a villain. And he's already taken down FaZe once before a year ago. He's looking for he's looking to take their scalps once again.
All right, here we go, Bleed. Having won the basement, they are going to take us up to staff room and open areas, the second bomb side of choice. Leaning into the mirror in combination with the Fenrir to keep the side at bay, make sure that FaZe can't get in early. But keep in mind, that isn't really the FaZe MO. They don't really like to go for something fast-paced like that. Instead, we will anticipate that they will start to pick apart the map one by one, step by step. 4 or 5 players on drones is quite characteristic of FaZe come the early game of their attacks as they try to figure out the path of least resistance. What's the best way that they can get in the building? And then once they figure that out, they do it all together at the same time.
The Cyber's identified the top square is looking clear. Nice drone there, pre-placed. Up near the skylight. Ooh, speaking of drones, the Twitch opens up that mirror window. Hoven is now forced back. He's really struggling to take down these drones, and he really needs to fall back now. So he does. Reaps was elsewhere on the top floor as well, but he still remains at the very top of elevator. As I say that, he drops back.
Great dissection of the top floor, injecting Cyber into top square with the buck in hands to actually make use of those open walls, and in tandem with the hard breach charge to go onto the janitor wall as well. Does mean that they have picked apart this top floor and they can start to make use of the vertical.
Another Twitch drone goes out for FaZe. They've made incredible work of these gadgets at clearing all kinds of utility, including that mirror window up here as well. And now it comes to vertical game. Now, Asfi has his C4 already out somewhere, but it's not flashing. Does that mean he's already detonated it? I'm a bit confused.
No, he just pinged it. He's just got him pinged it on the roof above inside a stock, but doesn't quite connect Souls as well. On the Finker is going to be able to heal himself back up to half HP as well, so not too much damage dealt to FaZe as they start to tick away in the mid rounds. It is going to be up to them at this point to then go through their decision making, right? They have 2 sets of hard reach, so if they want to go in and try and do something on square, they could, but then they need to worry about flanks, and that's not really cool against Bleed. With the vertical game having gone down, they could then go and translate their push horizontally over into Tells and Archives as well, or they could just go for a hatch drop, and that looks like what they're going to do.
They see the pick and they go for it. The nade, it does find the kill onto Asfi. Souls has been massive in this round, but coming in for a flank. Reaps is only good for 1. All up to Hoven now in a 1 versus 4, and he is completely surrounded and cut out of the bomb site. The plan has been secured. There's a decent amount of information, but he can't secure the kill. Cyber takes him down, and a flawless round for FaZe.
Well executed there from FaZe. They had full vertical control, and they translated that perfectly. All they had to do was make sure Tells and Archives was clear. That was Cyber's job on the buck. And then the moment that they all flooded themselves into the bomb site or inside of the main hallway around beepers, they knew that there was not that much resistance on the bomb site, and they just had to flood it with the utility that they had, brute force their way on in, and play the trades with the numbers that they had.
Joel's favorite place to hang out is the lake outside Gas South Arena.
Very nice.
I think we saw a little bit of a guest appearance from Joel on the broadcast the other day. A lot of really in-depth analysis. I really hope that Foxe, Laxing, Fresh, and Jesse can live up to the standards that have been set now.
That was actually a nuts nade from Souls. I don't know if you saw that, but he dropped the hatch with the grenade cooking in his hands. The confidence that he wasn't going to die, and threw it and still landed the kill. That's nuts. I don't know. Souls is just like, even though he does play that supportive role, in fact, I would say 4 of the 5 players on FaZe are support players, he can still frag out. Especially when, you know, you get him on like Thinker, Sledge, like something like that. That's crazy.
How on earth do you have 4 support players on a roster? It feels like FaZe play the game so differently to anybody else.
They're the most like Brazilian roster. I would say like in the world at the moment. They play such a different game. But I think it works out for them, especially when you can make headway for a player like Cyber, who's probably the most lethal player, I would say, like, not of all time, but he's certainly up there, I would say, as like one of the most lethal players of all time. He's got the killer instinct.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really does. And he's got all kinds of experience as well. Here come the Claymores.
What is this?
Yeah.
Why are there 2 Claymores like facing into the windows?
Yeah, it's very strange. You usually put them looking sideways, right? But regardless.
I guess they got so many of them, right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Fair enough.
A bomb has been located.
All right. Here goes FaZe at an attempt of what seems to be a push centered in around the repels. And he is going to have a think about getting on this parking rappel as well with the 1.5x to see what he can claim. But Cyber's down below with the grenades in his hands, and he can send them up to try and pick apart some of these anchors on the bomb site.
He's just going to be using audio. I mean, he's got great information here. Asfi, he's surely not long for this world. He comes a nade, up it goes. Asfi takes a hunk of damage, but still survives, and he decides, look, it's not a good idea to loiter around in janitor for any longer. And so the second nade comes through, opens up the hatch, but doesn't affect the health of any of these bleed players.
Well, I think what they can know now is that janitor's clear. The one position that he did nade was the single reinforcement that was on the janitor wall, and that was the only safe place that they could be in. Not just that, but now they've also sent the hard breach charge out onto that one reinforced wall as well to take it down. Actually, there's 2 reinforced walls. I take that back. But alas, there's no one in janitor, and that's the main thing that FaZe, I believe, know now.
Yeah, and speaking of breach, here comes Souls with an opening on the top square. Hoven down below is taking out a drone. Now, will he find Cyber, or has Cyber vacated that position?
This is good control, actually, from FaZe. Knowing that janitor's clear meant that no one was playing these standing holes here that was preventing the repellent. So Souls has gone in, been able to open up this breach, and now they can think about getting the plant down.
A fairly passive play from Bleed. FaZe unafraid of executing at any point in the round, as we know. It's a simple holding angles matter for FaZe as they decide when it is to move in. Here goes Souls. Looks for a bit of a spray, and he looks to force down the diffuser with no util to cover, but 2 guns to come to life in the cover for FaZe. 3 players left for Bleed as they are unable to deny that diffuser plant. They must now retake in an incredibly unenviable position.
Well picked apart from FaZe as now is forced Bleed into a retake position. Turd is going to try and take the long angles with the 1.5x in hand, but Handy's going to be the one to shut down the push coming in through top square. It's Mentalist full white in a 1 versus 3. Surely he's not going to be able to claim this one. It's a near impossible retake, and KDS is going to finish him off.
And a near flawless round for FaZe as well. They've come to life on these last 2 and just dominated on these off bomb sites. Open area stuff, a flawless attack. CEO Executive, nearly the same both times with plants. In that case, it was a 5 versus 5 plant, if I recall correctly. And believe it or not, FaZe are now the team to take a tactical timeout, up 2-1.
Interesting. I wonder why. It does make me curious as to what FaZe are going for here.
Well, I guess they do know what bomb site they'll be attacking. Locker's CCTV now being unlocked.
Finca também, eu qualquer coisa, eu vou dropar o eles não tinham nada dentro da bagagem.
I like how they look at each other when they talk. It's actually really nice. They're thinking about something. So at first I thought maybe that tactical timeout was like a bit preemptive from the coach. Like maybe he thought that they were going to lose that one out, and so he thought, okay, tech attack, because they're not reading the game right. But that actually looked quite intentional. I don't understand Portuguese, so I can't say that I know exactly what was going on down there, but I can only imagine that FaZe, knowing they're going down to the basement bomb site, must have had a plan going into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about bringing along Finka. Maybe they're thinking that they didn't have enough nades to translate the execute perhaps through the mid to late round, like something like that. I can only speculate.
Yeah, well, perhaps they are looking for a bit of an explosive end to the round, similar to what we saw on Open Area Staff Room, where they were in a 5v5, they send out their nades and look for an execute. I'm curious, though, whether FaZe will omit the Twitch, because there's only so many operators that you can pick, and the Twitch was worth its weight in gold, taking down all of that utility on site. Looks like we will get the Twitch. We actually won't get Finka in the end, and not a single set of nades. Oh, as I say that, last second they switch off the Twitch for the Finka.
Interesting. It's a little hard to get a read on exactly what FaZe are thinking about doing here, but nevertheless, on the flip side, Bleed haven't really changed their strategy all too much. They have double reinforced off the wall from bottom main going into tellers to make sure that they can fall off safely from there without the cutoff coming in through handy. Same thing with the lone office ones being closed off as well. So that makes that mid main position a safe haven for the roamers. At the same time, Asfi as well, with impacts in hand, can open up the fall off route through the hatch. So for FaZe, they do want to look to pick this one apart once again. KDS, who's now moved in on that frontline role instead of bringing along, I forgot what it was already, the Twitch, is going to be the first point of entry into the building. Actually, I lied about that. It's Cyber, of course, it's Cyber on the Buck, to then start to use the Buck to enable that vertical game to come through and flush out those roamers.
Here comes the Finka boost very early on, giving Cyber a tiny bit of extra HP into a potential gunfight. As Reaps is still holding on to this elevator position. He's got a shield to support him. And of course, there are plenty of flashes and nades to flush him out as Cyber opens up the hatch above him.
This is so interesting, right? Because they have not held onto Tells and Archives at all, Souls has then gone and realized and taken the free real estate. By opening up this wall going into open area, he's now actually got a sort of angle on the fall-off position, and it's forced the remainder of the roamers to then go and fall off early. I think the only player left on the roam has been killed, basically, and that was Asfi.
Yeah, that was really nice there from FaZe. They even used one tiny set of Hibana X Karas to open up an angle looking down the main stairs to flush out those elevator hallway players from their position. On top of that, we just saw a Yokai be taken down. This ain't a great look for Bleed.
Certainly a more tough spot to be in, although the Gills do have a fair amount of plants and all. Not only do they have one more Yokai on Hoven, but they also have the Goyo canisters, which with the absence of the Twitch will remain up for a little bit longer. And they have 3 Smoke Babes on Mentalist as well. So there's still a lot for for FaZe to have to burn through if they want to translate this into a plant execute.
KDS is just taking a bit of damage. Not sure where that angle came through, as Handy and Cyber are looking to push onto the side, but these Vulcan canisters are still alive.
I think they've messed up a little bit here. I don't think they can actually go for a plant unless they send deep in with the multi. Maybe that's the idea of Vidiking. But Souls on the other side is thinking about dropping the back.
Oh,
actually,
no.
Vidiking's going to send the Monty in through the back instead. So a 2-way push for FaZe as they look for this execute.
And Souls drops straight into the fire. He dodges it just barely, but he doesn't land the fight. Cyber goes down, and Bleed come to life. But FaZe have kept pace here. They have found quite a few picks as Reaps goes down as well. It's all up to Hoven. Is there a Yokai for plant denial? That is the question that remains. FaZe have got no clue where he is, and too little too late on the observation blocker. And now Vidiking, low HP, Handy as well, but the Monty will be a devilish devil to take down, and Vidiking does end up ADSing, finishing him off, and 3 rounds in a row for FaZe sets them up comfortably in the half.
That was a solid FaZe style execute there, if you ask me. All 5 players, yes, they entered in from different spots, and yes, they couldn't quite go for the safe haven plant that they wanted to, but identifying that it wasn't safe to go for it meant that every single player in the server came active and came alive at the same time, and that's the MO of FaZe, right? They spend a long time planning, they spend a long time droning, and so they're not always acting off live info, especially when it comes to that execute. But it means that they're doing something all together and at the same time, and they're all on the same plan. If in that instance, somehow Handy decides he can go for a plant when it's not safe just yet, they lose the round. They've lost their win condition of going for a flood. They know that all 5 of them need to be in the bomb site, and they want to get their heads in the engagements before they look for a plan.
Now we're seeing KDS's entry onto the side at the end of the round. That really turned the tide. Bleed fell apart as soon as they lost those critical players in Garage and in Lockers. FaZe, 3 rounds straight, 3 plants in a row as well. And to be honest, Mandy, the only one of those 3 rounds that was close for Bleed was that one just gone by. And Bleed, instead of retrying yet again that Locker CCTV bomb site, will go and try and retake this open area staff room that they failed flawlessly to do so before.
I think the FaZe formula is the perfect one to beat Bleed on, right? Because FaZe, they don't telegraph their push at all. And so when Bleed want to take those early engagements and take the fight to FaZe, they don't know where to go because there are 4 players on drones and only 1 in the building. Even now, Cyber's actually gone onto the Brava instead of going on like the Bark or whatever else you might anticipate to see him on. And so you can only guess that FaZe are taking an even slower pace of the round. They're probably going to lure it outside the building for a long time, except KDS, who's on the ace and has made his way up top blue.
Oh, here comes KDS. There's been good information already for FaZe, and the E1D is going to lock that player in place. KDS takes a bit of damage. Turtster on the other side. He is supported now by his teammates. All of these Bleed players looking to collapse, and a C4 does trade back Turtster. However, FaZe did get the opening kill regardless.
But they're going to dial it back. Even off the back of that first kill, they have lost the control in KDS, and that means they can't quite make their headway in as they had anticipated. But there goes Mentalist trying to take a duel with a player outside. Souls as well with the long line of sight through Lone. Oh wow, what an angle.
Yeah, very deep angle, a very scary one. Souls with a 1.5 times scope can look all the way into the site. It looks like it just peeks in through that doorway. That's a new angle. I certainly didn't know about that one.
Hoven as well being really kept at bay at the back of Beepers as well. By that angle, Souls is eventually going to fall off it, but finally Cyber is actually the second set of boots in the building and is going to be able to use his clutch drones to see what he can find come towards the execute phase of the round. There goes Handy as well, reclaiming the control that KDS established for him on the line. He has a player locked inside of Elevator and is able to land a nice shot onto Reaps.
Reaps over peaking just a little bit there. Now Asphy looks to try and make something happen in return, but it's not going to work out for Bleed so far. They are down a man. And FaZe have plenty of time to make something work. As I say that, there has been an injury. And look at this from Asphy. He's hungry for it. However, it costs him his life. A 2v3 now for Bleed as Mentalist and Hoven must go nuclear.
Probably not the smartest play, I would say, from Asphy. It has still kept FaZe in the man advantage. They know that there's a player on the main stairs. They have so much info on the map. And with Mentalist in 1 versus 3 with only 20 HP, surely he's going to be executed. And he does. Vidiking to behead him and claim another round for FaZe.
It's 4 on a trot for FaZe now, as they really have read Bleed in this game. At what point will Bleed have a reply? So many isolated players for Bleed. I mean, that's how they love to play. This aggression has been dialed back, and FaZe are picking them apart. Now Bleed take their tactical.
FaZe very much playing this like turtle kind of play style going into night. You start on the outer layer, you drone yourself in, and then you jump in after that, right? And then even once they're inside the building, then they dial it back again and do another layer of droning, and then they go in. With FaZe, there's not a lot of live droning going on, and I think that's something that's really important to note with their playstyle. They spend so long outside of the building, all 5 players droning, so that by the time they do make their one move, it's not about having the exact location on a player, but more having such a strong idea of what the setup is going down that you can then make an educated guess, but do something together, right? If you have someone on a live drone and then an entry, then you get that disconnect. You don't have 2 guns, but you have 1 gun, right? Whereas if maybe you don't have that live info, but by having 2 guns on the board and by having people injected in the right place at the right time, it means that you can go for a much less telegraphed and more explosive take onto the setup of Bleed, and it's really catching them off guard.
What do Bleed do about it? They have one last chance, Mandy, on their defensive half to find a round. Now, this half has been won by FaZe. There's no doubt about it. A 4-2 is the best Bleed can ask for, but 5 in a row for FaZe, that would be an embarrassment for Bleed. They've, in every single game so far, looked like a fantastic team. Even the map that they lost to Cyclops and the map that they lost to Lost, they still won 4 rounds in those games. They were reasonably tight affairs. And I feel like if FaZe wins this round, this will be the first time at the major that Bleed have truly been stomped.
I think that's exactly right. I actually completely agree with that. And off the back of that tactical timeout, I must admit, this is going to sound maybe too harsh against Bleed, but like, where's Solace, you know? Like, yes, I actually quite like that Asphy has gone and jumped onto the Mozzie to try and deny some of the drones, but like, if you don't know what FaZe are doing, where is something like Solace, or where is your mute, especially if they're still leaning to this roam setup that has been picked apart time and time again by FaZe?
Especially in the prep phase, right? Your Solus is going to get rid of all of these pre-placed drones and force FaZe to take longer in that first stage of the round when they're looking to get boots in the building. Bleed have tried to roam, they have tried to anchor, but they're looking scared at the moment. And even their aggression enabled by these yokai drones hasn't seemed to pan out.
Once again, the only person off drones, except for KDS who's just jumped off it, is Cyber. The first set of boots in the building. As on the buck, he's going to make his entry work. Now, as we've seen, Bleed, they don't really play a crossover Intelligent and Archive, so there's not actually a point for him to really do vertical work, but instead to translate his pressure down the main stairs nice and early onto Reaps. This is dangerous though. Hoven, he's got a cam inside a lobby and he's just seen the double entry come through.
I like this reinforcement at the bottom of the main stairs though. Soul's not able to pressure onto that hallway as of yet, but he has snuck into Archives, and that means he can start putting some pressure through that admin wall and deep into the open area.
They've got a little bit of a pinch going on to the players on the ground floor, but actually it's Cyber. Somehow, I can only imagine he must have dropped the stock hatch or something like that to actually land this kill to Aspie as he tries to pull off.
Yeah, I don't know how he had the information and the timing to make that work, but an early pick for Bleed leaves Aspie with only 1 kill and 6 deaths in the game thus far. And FaZe on the other side looking poised to take yet another round. For Reaps, the player that has beaten FaZe before and knows what it takes, he will need to have an impact in this late round. Handy has now taken down that yokai drone once again. Vidiking with the Twitch can peel apart all of this util on site. Finally, the bulletproof camera can stun it for just a moment. Hopefully a Bleed player can finish off that Twitch drone. Otherwise, there's so much on the board for FaZe.
It's a little scary though. There is actually still 1 yokai drone in the hands of Hoven and 3 of the smoke canisters from Mentalist. Mentalist needs to start throwing them out now. There's only 30 seconds left to go for FaZe. Now is the time where you really want to lock out the bomb site.
Here comes that gas. Handy is forced on back. And as you are right, it will need to be a frag fest. Cyber goes in. He finds nothing! Mentalist shuts him down. He might have saved the round as a result, but Souls looks to go deep. Vidiking as well in the affair. Another kill potentially for Souls as Handy looks to force down this plant, but there is very little information on the board for Bleed to try and deny this plant. Time ticking away. Souls caught in a crossfire, but here's a retake called upon for Bleed. Now for Reaps, the last man standing for Bleed to stave off 5 rounds in a row for FaZe. Confirmed. They dominate the first half.
Great execute there from FaZe. A couple little things going the right way for them. They knew that they couldn't quite get the plant down at the default position, and so they had to go in deep.
And we have a dial-in here from one of our analysts. What have you got to say, Fox?
If Bleed want to win this game, they needed an immediate blood transfusion. They were relying too much on the Goyo to slow down FaZe. It was not working. It's going to be an almost impossible task for them to come back into this game. But if anybody can do it, it's Reaps.
Well, do you think there's something special on their attack that they can do?
On whose attack? On
Bleed's attack. They've now moved on to the attacking side. What can they do to try and bring this back?
Keep up the pace, because I'd imagine FaZe is going to be doing the same thing, slowing them down and keeping them behind those Goyos, behind the Echoes, and behind the smokes.
Thank you very much, Fox. 5 rounds in a row from Bleed. That would be required to get match point here without going to OT, and that just seems impossible.
FaZe have actually played like a pretty incredible game for Rainbow Six. There are so many small things, as well as I guess in the macro sense, that have gone right for them. I don't know if we actually have a chance to see what happened in the last round there, but like Mentalist actually landed what I believe was the smoke on the planter. Even in the final smoke babe, he did the lineup for the deeper plants, but it didn't detonate, right? Like where did it go, you know? But Souls was right next to Handy. Did he like shoot it with the SMG-12 or something, like once it landed on the ground before it detonated or whatever? Because there are just so many things that FaZe are doing right, even like little stuff like that, especially Souls, man. Like some of the kills that he's been able to land and do in this game are just like such small, intricate aim things. That's crazy.
Yeah, there's no question of the mechanics of these players on FaZe and their confidence as well. And I'm going to say it, Mandy, there's only one team that has really looked confident against Bleed so far, and that is FaZe. All of these North American teams that Bleed have smacked in this Swiss phase, they have looked shaken, and FaZe look quite the opposite. Perhaps there's something about the Brazilian playstyle that counters this Asian team.
Oh, KDS is so stuck in this top floor. Yes, he is the Solus, but he has no fall-off route through Bananas being covered by a Rappel, and right on the other side of this is Aspie, who's looking in for the entry. There goes KDS, though, rounding the corner, and Banana, where is the player on the path parking repel. Hello? Is he not taking him down yet? There's even a player on top of square that he's trying to...
Oh
okay,
my
finally,
God.
thank you, Turd. A little too late, though. One of his teammates has been sacrificed.
That's so unnecessary there. KDS had a great roam, but Bleed surely should have punished that. I'm not sure the miscomm, but there was so many drones. Turdster should have been able to pick that and take him down. Oh, Cyber. That's a really nice nade from Reaps on the other side to take Cyber down to low HP.
Scary moments now for Bleed, and yes, they do actually have the buck in the building, so it's not over just yet. It was a one-to-one trade. It's not too bad, all things considered. That being said, though, it is a basement bomb site, so they still have a lot more of the map to clear with 1 minute and 20 seconds left to go. When we saw FaZe in this position, they were basically right next to the bomb site. Oh, it's a nice pick, though, from Reaps.
Yeah, and there's another player looking to peek him now. It is Handy trying to get back to site. There's actually information, I'm not sure where that is, but instead of going for the pick, he decides the more restrained option will consolidate the position for FaZe.
There's a vault cam in square somewhere. I don't know where it is, but there is a vault cam in square somewhere that's seen the entry of Reaps as he makes his way in. Turd, though, ooh, nice pick as well onto Vidiking. Oh, he goes for 2 in through garage control, but taken down. But it's Souls and a 1-on-3. Turd has just done magic.
This is winnable, though, for Souls. He's had a great game so far, and he's playing the perfect operator to take these 1v1s and isolate positions, deny that plant. The time is ticking down as well. There are Fenrir dread mines on the site.
Tough execute, though, still here for Bleed as they make their way in through server. Yes, 1-on-3 is certainly in the realm of possibility, like you said, but it's still tough to do. Souls has got an absolutely monumental task in front of him.
Here comes the first gas babe. In goes a flash. Okay, the plant has been denied for now and can be denied for the remainder of the round as well. Bleed need to pivot. They need to go deep. They need Reaps to stand up now, or else Souls will have a clutch on his hands. As we say that, Mentalist looks to force down this plant, and now, gassed out of the position, he is taken down on the retreat. A 1v2 now for Souls, as these 2 players from Bleed need to make sure not to let this one slip by them. Reaps above, he hits the adrenal surge, he looks for the swing, and he secures the kill, stemming the bleeding. They have found their first round in the last 6.
Turd really was the turning point in the round. 3 in the round for him. The first one onto the Roma, of course, although a little bit late, but he made up for his mistakes, coming in through garage and taking down 2 on the bomb site as the remaining Romas had to then go and fall off in through blue. Really nice stuff there from him, and immediately after that, the rest of the team could easily clean it up in the 1 versus 3.
And what a different story we'd be talking about, Mandy, if Bleed had been able to win that final round of defense. Now we're still at 2-5. Otherwise, it would have been 3-4. It would be a very, very close game, and Bleed would have a serious shot at continuing this towards triumph. But to be honest, I think FaZe, the advantage in the first half just seems so substantial that Bleed would need a miracle to come back in the second.
Here we go. FaZe are going to send us into the top floor for the second bomb side of choice, having lost the basement. They don't want to go and repeat that, seeing how quick the entries were from Bleed. I kind of like this idea of going into the top floor instead. Typically when you play top floor bomb site, it doesn't matter what map it is, you play your life. You play for power positions. You don't need to fall off and do things like that. And so it's going to test Bleed in their ability to pick apart a bomb site, and especially in the top floor, that is something that you need to be a little bit more proficient with utility on.
Especially if it comes to that parking repel right now, Andy. Like, the parking repel can be so powerful on this CEO bomb site, but it was a little bit too delayed from Turdster last round.
Bleed have a couple options here with their thinking phase going on. They have got the ranged hard reach at the moment on Mentalist, so if they want to at least work the Kanto wall early, they can, but the thing that I'm keeping an eye on is the Rotero drones of Asphy. What value is he going to be able to get out of it? I think that one's just been muted. There is a jammer right behind that shield, so Asphy is going to have a little bit of trouble trying to land this one.
Yeah, that's a real struggle. Looks like Reaps does have nades in pocket and is ready to throw them in. So here comes the flashes to try and clear any Wamai magnets. In goes the nade to follow, and it should have taken down that shield and the mute jammer to boot.
This is good work so far from Bleed, and they can then go and send the hard reach over to get that wall open and pressure out any of the remaining defenders that might want to play inside of the hallway. Premature C4 to be sent out into stop as well, anticipating the entry to come through. Did not actually amount to anything, as they can look in towards this top square position. That looks like an entry hole as well that Mentalist has just made into the breach going inside of CEO. So it does seem like they are having a think about going for a plant spot, at least trying to make an entry into CEO.
Tursa once again on this rappel. He's made great use of his IQ scanner already, clearing these Valkyrie cameras. But Cyber is still the Valkyrie himself at large on this roam down below. He's used his C4 prematurely, as you said. But now Bleed are setting up a really solid position for an execute. Still in this 5v5, still with tons of time to work with.
I wonder how much Hoven's been able to disable as well in terms of info on the bomb side as well. You can see the one under his, what's it called? Under his UI. That does mean one observation tool has been taken, right? Or is that what that means? I can't remember.
Yeah, it means it's like one gadget, so...
Is that one gadget or one observation tool?
I believe it's a gadget, but I'm not sure. Here comes Cyber, though. He's coming up the square stairs. He's taken down Reaps. That's a big pick now, as Bleed don't have confidence that they will not be flanked below.
Danger now with the final 40 seconds of the round starting to tick by for Bleed. They need to start thinking about their move, but here goes Mentalist down below, anticipating that there will be a player here down below trying to deny the plant. That's Cyber, and he's going to be taken down.
With that, Asfi's also jumped in to stop here. 4v4, Hoven secures a man advantage for Bleed. Handy prone inside of front desk. Bleed need to look to force down a plant, otherwise they will succumb to these gunfights. Handy in an awkward spot, but Vidaking's gone down, meaning he has to deliver here, surrounded and cut down, as can be said for the whole of FaZe. Bleed are firing up 2 rounds straight.
Really solid round there from Bleed. Clinical, I would say, from this team. I think uncharacteristically clinical, I would say, the way that they were able to pick apart the bomb site. Asfi calling over that there was a mute jammer behind the shield, and then them being able to do the utility flood, great start. And then off the back of that, they didn't get too hasty jumping in the building. They spent even more time to use literally every single bit of tool that they had left in their toolbox to pick apart the bomb site. And the moment that they needed to go for it, all 5 of them went in for what was a very explosive execute.
This has been such an attacker's game of Bang, Mandy. The very first round was won by Bleed on defense. Every single round since, 7 in a row, have been won by the attacking side. When will FaZe be able to conjure up their first round of defense? Because that would mean match point. And if it happens while this advantage is still a 2-3 round lead, that would be fantastic. Bleed would be in the dirt, but if Bleed are allowed to start making this comeback happen, I don't have a lot of confidence that FaZe will be able to lock in a match point.
10 seconds left before insertion.
Round by round, it is for Bleed to try and close out the points advantage that FaZe are currently holding on to. Once again, FaZe deciding that they don't want to repeat any of the previous bomb sites, and they're going to send us over to open area and staff room instead. Looking for what is a pretty extended hold in the top floor, to be honest. It's even aided by the castle of KDS as well. So they are going to try and hold on to that top floor for as long as they can, look for a fall off, and then hold on to the ground floor as well. The comment that I want to make on that is that there isn't a lot of soft breach on the side of Bleed. They've only got the breach charges of Hoven. So even if they do get top floor control, it is going to take them a while to then get through the mid rounds and clear all the vertical and whatever they might need to do.
Here we go. Bravo drone goes in, spots that Valkyrie camera, and will be able to hack it there in lobby as well. That's going to be some good information in the late round, but more importantly, denying information from FaZe.
Here's Cyber in the ground floor. Coming off the top floor pretty early. There are only 2 players left in the top floor at the moment. One of them is going to be named out. Stuck on the other side. Oh, Reaps! He almost looks away at the wrong time, but it's actually Vidaking to dodge the nade and claim the first.
That's a big pick there for FaZe to kick off. If that had gone the other direction, then Bleed would be very comfortable on this roam clear. But instead, FaZe have an advantage, and they can start moving back. They can start forfeiting these positions, knowing full well in the late round they will maintain this numbers advantage.
No, they kind of don't need to fall off, though. They can still sit here in the top floor because of the absence of the hard breach at the moment on the janitor wall. Mentalist is actually going to take it over to Kanto instead, which has actually been completely mute jammed off. The player inside of janitor, Vidaking, is completely safe. The only point of contest that Bleed have now is this player coming in through lobby and maybe Hoven in top square or something like that. But actually, the players on the top floor are very safe.
Tursa has a big opportunity here. Oh, did he see the leg? Did he see the leg for a second? Does he see the player in janitor closet? I'm not sure if there's a line of sight, but it doesn't matter because he pushes too aggressively and goes down to Handy. Now Hoven might have it down, but Vidaking is not out as of yet. KDS has jumped into the fray. Handy for another kill, all up to Mentalist. That's a nice pick, but there will be a trade for FaZe, and with that, match point on the cards.
Very good defense there from FaZe. If they wanted to, they actually could have fallen off to safety, but the top floor was just way too safe. Like, there was no hard breach at all from Mentalist to actually put the pressure onto any of the players in their power positions. Top main position was being held by the Echo, complete safety. Inside of elevator, same thing. The wall couldn't be open in Cancer. There's no way they were getting the cutoff. And then even inside of Janitor, I mean, Vidiking was really, I think, the core of that defense in the top floor. Even though eventually Hoven did dislodge him, by the time they did that, they threw so many bodies in the top floor in what was, in my opinion, a rather misinformed way that they sort of just lost out in the crossfire.
Yeah, very scary round from Bleed. They looked so disconnected, and one pick goes wrong here, one gunfight lost there, and the round is over. That's all it takes when you set up like Bleed did just there. Had Reaps found that opening kill, would have been a very different round, but a high-risk play style sometimes doesn't fall in your favor. Now FaZe have 3 match points back-to-back to lock out this game and set themselves up for a 12th main stage appearance.
They are going to send themselves down into the basement as well with a rather different philosophy from the last time we saw them play this. Last time they did this, it was a very extended roam hold. All 3 floors on the map were being held by FaZe as they looked for the fall-off, but Turb was there to backstab them. This time around, they're not looking for nearly as extended of a roam game, only into the 2nd floor, but they're putting a lot more of the late game anti-execute utility in their hands instead, in the form of the mirror, the Fenrir, the smoke, and the Goyo, all those kinds of things that are going to make it difficult to make that translation from the ground floor into the basement work.
Well, how much of a roam is there from FaZe to isolate here as Asfi detonates his first logic bomb? He looks to get in, and his ears will tell him no one is nearby, so we can start to expedite this. And look at that Cyber, the sole roamer, I believe, on the entire map. He's holding on here in open area, but that's a very quick entry from Asfi to take him down. Looking for a refrag. Handy will have to fall back.
Nice work so far from Bleed. They've realized that the entire map has been forfeited to them. Free real estate, they'll take that for free. And really nice stuff to get that first pick onto Cyber, who's had an uncharacteristically quiet game for FaZe, but in the absence of that, some of his teammates have really stepped up to the plate. Oh, info as well for Turd, going in through garage. If someone holds this drone here for him, you can actually go in, right? Oh, and not only that, but they've actually had the cams as well off the back again, that first pick with the Doke B. KDS has got to shoot his own camera, and that means he's, like, really, he's very vulnerable to this backstab from Turd.
Yeah, there's no information now for FaZe about whether there's a player moving in from garage. They will have to train a gun on it for the remainder of this round. And with Bleed having that information on the drone, there's a very low chance that FaZe win that gunfight. Oh, Reaps! Very low HP. He's tempted to push forward, but Turdster times his push to perfection.
Really good stuff there from Ted, identifying the vulnerable point. Now, the next point of danger for FaZe is that Souls is kind of alone as well, right? He's all the way over in blue. No one's there to support him. Oh, but they kind of forgot about him, right? There's actually no one looking his direction at the moment, so he's going to get aggressive. A minute left to go, though. FaZe, with the man disadvantage, are in a really rough spot now if the Execute decides to push on in. Now, Bleed, they've realized that there's a lot of utility on the backside of the map, are actually going to look in for a lobby take instead. Find the point of least resistance and jump down on it.
This is the right call. There's no doubt about it for Bleed. But with Turdster starting to move in from garage, and with Hoven finding the pick onto Handy, then FaZe may well be locked out of sight. Souls was so far from home, leaving Vidiking all alone as he finds the first one. Big pick, and the trade comes through. Mentalist secures it. All up to Souls. A 1v3 he could not achieve before. Perhaps a 1v4 to win the game. Mentalist and Asfi, they have the diffuser, but in Souls is low HP. 20 seconds to play as Mentalist opens the case and starts to secure that diffuser. He fakes it. The Souls, once again, here's the sound cue. He needs to win the fight, but Asfi lands his headshot, and with that, Bleed guarantee another round in this game.
Great entry from Asfi, actually a big round from him. And great mid-round adaptation as well from Bleed, identifying that if they wanted to go in through server, there was not really a point in doing that. They'd done so well in the early game to get their 2 picks, especially off the back of garage control, that even though Souls was on the blue chest and even though he was alone, there was no point in throwing bodies at him. Just leave him there, see whatever's going on, see if he decides to fall back to the bomb site, and instead they wanted to hit lobby with all 5 of their players, which I think was definitely the more cautious, safe, and right play to go for.
Oh, wow. A tense game. Despite this still being 2 match points on the board for FaZe, Bleed have shown that they are so ready for a lot of these attacks, and they have still won 3 of the 4 attacks in this half. That basement bomb site in particular, they have such a good read for.
I think FaZe know it. and have gone up to the top floor instead. Now, this was also a successful attack for Bleed. It was very well picked apart, actually. When they did play it, they utilized literally every
10
single
seconds
piece of
remaining.
utility that they had to pick apart the top floor before finally going in for the execute.
5
This time
seconds
around,
left.
FaZe have leaned
Attackers
into a
have
couple
located
different
a bomb.
things. They're not playing the shield in the hallway anymore, and instead are
Attackers
going
are
to try and
moving to
protect
defuse the
KDS
bomb.
in his position inside of Janitor. They're closing up not just 1 or 2, but 3 walls and leaning into the mirror setup being here. It does mean that, yes, you don't really have like a player playing those like long angles going into top square from the Janitor position anymore, but it does mean that like rappelling into the site's really unsafe. It's a lot harder to do. And it is a more closed off defense, and I feel like that's the kind of the thing that you need to do against Bleed. I actually quite like the second mirror. Sorry, I just wanted to point it out for a moment. The second mirror is inside meeting, and it faces into stock. Now, last time when Bleed got control of stock, they actually used it as a point of entry, which is kind of hard to do, to be honest, if you're in attack. But having the second mirror there, it can be really hard to like thread the needle with the X-Kairos onto that position. So KDS is going to be pretty safe there for a while.
And it nullifies the need for that shield setup in the hallway as well, which Bleed proved to be very proficient at clearing last time.
Ooh, good value though, out of Hoven on the Twitch. The perfect counter to the setup, actually, if he wants to take down the Fenrir gadgets and the mirrors as well. Massive value. That's actually 2 of the Dread Mines and 2 activations that have gone down.
Wow. This Fenrir has been countered very effectively here by Bleed. Does set themselves up for a nice end round. This mirror in Janitor still survives, but there's a deep angle now from top square. Vidiking needs to be ultra careful, and as you can see, he's not comfortable playing in here. What is this setup from Asfi? Oh,
Wow.
beautiful jump. He's going to be able to take down the castle barricade. Some Rotero drone parkour countering the setup from FaZe.
That's actually kind of sick. I really like this. I really like this from Bleed. They're spending a lot of time using, once again, the special drone squad to take down everything. I mean, Hoven's little Twitch drone is like still in the bomb site doing magic.
And Turtz has found the opening as well. On this rappel, he has redeemed himself for a missed opportunity earlier in this game. Vidiking now feeling all kinds of pressure, but he finds 2. And now Asfi needs to deliver. Hoven has jumped in and helped out as well. Asfi about to get C4'd, but no, it's Hoven that falls victim. Turtz has gone down undefeated, unshaken, unfazed. Brazil have their first team on stage in Atlanta.